This week, we're tackling the electrics. We've moved everything from the back of the van to a much more accessible spot, added an external hookup and reconnected the solar and the water. It's a big step forward in our campervan upgrade. I tried to write a little plan of the jobs that we had organised, so we're basically ticking them off as we go. And then Adam got straight to work moving all the electrics.
You can see the little box there. It's a little bit rough at the minute. I need to fine tune it so it looks a bit pretty, but I'm just making ideas as I go. It's definitely rough inside. It's just enough if I ever need to access any wires from behind for whatever reason. Accessible, but it'll never really open. I need emergencies, I guess. Still haven't quite decided that the switch is there. The fuse board, I can't determine whether I'm going to have that. I think there's not enough room in here really. I've made it smaller than I thought. I'm going to have to mount the fuse board down there somewhere underneath. So that means drilling a couple of holes through the worktop in the corner maybe, and at least I can get to the back of here if ever, because the back of the wires, back of the switch unit will be visible at least then. And the plan is to have standard house socket of some description here that runs off the inverter, which will be mounted on there. I might even put the fuse board down here, to be honest. And I don't have to get out of the van if anything happens. Probably easier that way. Still plenty of decisions to make. Just screwed in the inverter, the solar controller panel, and a little breaker below, you can see there. So if I want to work on the system, I can press that button and it'll break the solar. And then this one goes off to the battery. Need to shorten it though. Underneath the fuse board, this bit I'm going to put behind, under here, at the back, above the gas bottle. I'll show you later. This is the negative from the solar panel. Just had to shorten it. I'm putting a new connector on, and this goes into that was a bit dark, isn't it? Goes into the negative here. That goes into that, and then the positive goes onto this breaker, which I'm about to do. Where is it? There. That needs a ring on it. Just joining this from the fridge, not quite long enough with it being a pull out. Got a seal already on there. That needs heating up. Shrink wrap. These are crush connectors. So put that one on there. goes in that. Got it. Slide over the shrink wrap. That should be watertight. It's just another protection from any moisture as well, I guess. There's plenty of excess for the fridge to slide out. And then the negative put on here. The bottom of the fuse box. Oops, fiddle it. Right, that's in there, that can fit there. I can tidy them wires up with cable tidy or clips at some point. And this is my extension for the switch. When I turn the fridge on, run that up there. And as you can see, fridge is in the middle, so it's the middle switch. I'll have to connect to that.
We have light. We have light. Say hi, Gel. Jelly's in the van with me, and we're just having a cup of tea and discussing our next steps, because Adam has been busy. I shall show you what he's been up to. So we have light, obviously, and as Adam said, he wanted the electrics all to be up this end of the van. So what have you made?
A little box to hide the ugly bit, but it's not actually that ugly compared to last time.
No.
I've got a fuse box, still got some fuses to put in. This is a standard household socket.
We're gonna
get a black one.
Yeah, we're gonna get a black one
and
to
then
replace it with.
These things are available readily on Amazon. Everyone will see these, eBay. But I've wired mine slightly differently so that it just controls single items rather than, because I think if you buy it from the shop ready, one switch turns the whole panel on. But I've unwired that so that each switch does a
So let me just say,
separate function.
We've got lights, we've got water pressure for obviously when we have the sink plumbed in. Then we've got our fridge, and then we've got the little fan. We've got a little mini extractor fan, which actually someone asked me about not so long ago, and it was very cheap, but it just kind of does the job.
Allows better airflow, doesn't it?
Yeah, we used it in Spain and it was pretty decent, just for a little light. And then we've got a USB socket.
Charging stuff.
Which is there, but then also we've got a little 12 volt. So sometimes when we've got the teens in with us, we're all like plugged. Four of us are plugged into there, aren't we? And the battery has never faltered, has it? Really? No. So
let's just
Adam, show them down there.
So you'll have probably seen before how messy the electrics were when they were in the wardrobe, but I thought this was a pretty unutilised space behind the driver's seat, and it came with its own board ready-made from the cupboard. So the battery's down here, which is, I think that's 50 amp in it. But we might upgrade that or get a second one. There's enough room to fit a second one.
We said we'll probably get a second one.
Yeah, just to give us 100 amps, because the plan is to get a boiler of some sort, of water storage heater. So we might need more power storage for powering that. Bobel's one of the options. There are a few out there, we'll see. but it's pricey, so we need to save up. And then obviously you can see the solar panel controller currently doing quite nicely, full battery. Even though it's a cloudy day, we've got full storage. That's just a pretty basic inverter. Won't do anything too powerful. I don't think it can do a heater, but it's enough to add an extra charger in there, like a laptop or phones again. So that is basically plugged in. When I turn that on, that powers that socket. Again, black eventually. But it's nice. I've done a neater job. I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. You can see here these two isolators. That one is the live from the solar into the controller, and then from the controller goes to the battery, and then from the battery it comes to this isolator back to the fuse box, and then to the switches and everything else. Fairly simple setup. I've done it, that's the second time I've had to do it, so I'm getting my head around it. No, I could probably do it blindfolded eventually. But yeah, that's what I did last night. There's still a few more bits to finish. Like I say, I've got the tap to plug in, the fan needs plugging in, and then I'd like to get a switch on this pillar because that's our entrance, but having to cross into the van to put the light on at night is annoying, so I'm going to put a switch on here and a second set of lights, or maybe just switch these lights to this switch and add another mood lighting to this switch. I think that's the plan anyway. So I'm just doing another Amazon shopping list to get some bits together, and then I'll have shown you this in another video. We've got a, what's it called, the shore power. When you're plugging into a campsite, we've got a nice flap to match the water inlet, so I'm going to put that in. And have I got it in here? Yeah, I have. I've got this. I've had it quite a while. Aldi. I got this from either Aldi or Lidl. Yeah, I think it was Aldi. It's its own separate breaker, so it's got all the MCBs and an RCD, sockets and USB. So it comes with an orange cable already. It would have had a blue plug on for when you go camping. We've used it camping, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
But I'm just going to plug that into the back of the flap, and then that will hide in the garage area, and I can bring an extension from one of these, and then we're going to have, once this is all built, we're going to have a socket here that will be shore power socket. Now then, it's time for some more electricals, but this time it's shore power if you want, or mains. Remember I put the water tank flap in the previous video. I've got the same socket for the electric plug-in, so I want it to match ideally, so it looks same height. I think that would look best, don't you? So that means that when I drill my massive hole, number 2, it will come through here. The back will be visible, and there should be just enough room to mount this above. But yeah, I'm going to drill another hole today, get that plugged in, and the idea is, also I'll show you what the plan is with that. I bought, this is for a desk, a recess one, so you can surface mount that into some sort of sheet, wall. And it's got its own plug socket on, so where that goes in the front of the van, or in the back of the van, whatever, the plug socket will come through and be into there, and that will be a dedicated 240 volt for that socket in the van, once we're plugged into the mains obviously. But it still leaves me access for another couple back here if I need to as well. Quite useful, don't you think? So yeah, let's do another scary big hole. Here goes. Stinky. Yoo-hoo! Another big hole. Let's try the socket. See if it fits. I should hope so. Look at this. Oh, yes. Does that look good? I've just drilled a nice big hole for the socket on the outside, and I have glued my breaker unit sockets to the timber that's under the worktop. Now I have to just thread that wire through there, connect the wires, and then screw it all up. Now this time I bought some actual self-tapping screws to hold that in. If you saw the video with the water, I ended up using bolts for some reason. I didn't have any screws suitable, so I went and bought some actual screws that just screw straight through to the metal and hold it all in on this case. So I'll be getting on with that next. The wires in, where's the back bit? There. Now, before I put that together, it might be a good idea to test it. One moment. Found it. So, and that. Let's secure it. Why is that so stiff? There. Oops. That's not ideal. See. That's the moment of truth. Red light means power. Bright light means yay! This bit is going to be the next bit of shelving, and then cubby holes, if you will, and then sockets and USB ports in here. I also got this. I think this one was eBay. You get a double kit of USB sockets. Come ready with a wiring kit and everything, and even some spare fuses and a nice little fascia. I bought that separately because I need to drill another hole up here first, but they'll be in there. and then that switch will turn them two on. So here we go with that. So I'm just on with the last few electrical connections. This morning I've been wiring up the tap. Let's see. Oh, it's not turned it on over here. Hang on. That one. Got some running water. It's only cold at the minute. This tap can take hot as well. Which was what took me so long to do it this morning. Just about see. So there's the cold water. Cold is there, and that one is the hot. What I didn't realise is when you're pumping cold through, it just comes straight out the hot rather than out of the faucet. So I've put that on and I've put a stop end on it for now till I can get a boiler of some description plumbed in. But I've been reconnecting all the wiring as well, and actually same for what I'm about to do with these little lamps. I have actually decided to solder them because the gauge on the wire is so small that even when you just crimp them they just pull straight back out again. So I've been spending a bit of time doing it nice with my solder iron just to make sure they don't ever come loose, because that's the last thing you want is a loose connection and it causes everything to fail. So yeah, little reading lamps going in, one at the back here by the wardrobe, and I'm going to do one, there's a wire just there, look, I'm going to do a reading lamp somewhere around that B pillar. So yeah, I think that's the last. Oh, I've got a wire that wire goes to the fan extractor, and then yeah, I think that's it. Oh, might as well show you what I did last night. So we got these. I had some teething problems with these. I've wired them in series, so it was on that one switch, and I had both USB sockets plugged in. But the little blue light came on, but when I plugged my phone in, it wasn't working very well. I realised that for whatever reason, I don't know if these switches can handle the right voltage or amps, whatever you want. I'm no electrician. But when I took one off and charged my phone through this one, it was perfect. So then I decided to run a second wire from the fuse board to here through the second switch. So I've got separate switches for each side now, and that solved my issue. And then also I put a switch in which controls that, which is quite nice. And then obviously I showed you that, didn't I? Putting that in. So that's the setup here. Light going over there, fan to plug in. I think that's it.
Thanks for watching. Next time we'll be finishing the last bits, the wardrobe, the big drawer and the new flooring. It's really starting to feel like our camper van again.